Hey everyone, this is Wistful Deal Hill, and this video is something that I have been wanting to make for quite a long time now, and it's something that I'm excited to make. It's something that I'm kind of scared to do, but I feel like what I'm about to show you folks is truly something unique and truly special. Folks, we're back at it again with the dementia, Alzheimer's music again. I have done this before, and it's not the first time I've covered Alzheimer's or dementia. If you folks remember back in the past before I did Dante Timberwolf's All the Grand Memories of All the Lovely Years, which is a fan project, and I did The Caretakers Everywhere at the end of the time. But I feel like with this one here, it's truly unique and truly special, and it's something that holds dear to my heart, and it's something that I've been waiting specifically for it to end, finally, to get a full grand picture and everything. And I'm super excited to show you folks this and everything. Now, fair warning to you all, this is not for the faint of heart by any means necessarily, and I truly mean that this time. I know I've said it before, but what I'm about to show you folks is truly soul crushing, and it displays, at least to me, I feel, it truly displays dementia in the most horrifying but best realistic way possible. Folks, what I'm about to take you down is something that's full of grief, depression, and horror, folks. So, fair warning to you all, this is about to get real depressing real damn fast. So, with all that being said, folks, I am going to show you folks what I truly believe to be the Dementia Simulator Definitive Edition or whatever, and we're going to jump on in. So, buckle up and brace yourself, folks, because it's going to be a depressing night. Now, before we begin with the actual album and project, there's a few things that I want to discuss with you folks. The first thing is how these videos are going to be laid out. Yes, videos. I plan on having these divided up into separate videos here. So, let me tell you the one thing that's very unique that I find with this album here. And unlike the past that we've covered before with all the grand memories of all the lovely years everywhere at the end of time, and even everywhere but the center of your mind, normally in fan projects or other albums based on dementia or Alzheimer's, it's either set in a stage theme where it goes based on the stages of the disease, or set in years, 1 to 10 or 11 or whatever. But what's unique about this one here is that it's set in visits. And in each of these visits, there's a scene in these, as you can read and see and everything. There's 9 total scenes in these. And these scenes, I feel, is like a chapter book. It's like looking at a book and reading a new chapter or whatever. So what I plan on doing in this video that you're currently watching is that I'm only going to cover 1 to 3. I'm going to have it divided up. So I'm only going to do visit 1 to visit 12, which is scene 1 to 3. And then next time around when I come back, I'm going to cover another part of this project, scene 4 to scene 8. And then another one, I'm going to do scene 7 to scene 8 or 9 or whatever. It's a strong idea that I have in this. So I'm going to have these each chopped up into separate videos and separate parts and everything. I'm still going to do the same thing from what I've done before previously in the past, where I would record a certain part of it, then I would cut out, and then I would come back again. I'm going to be doing the same thing here in each visit here, folks. So we already got a lot to cover and everything. And besides, if I were to do the whole entire thing in one whole swoop and project and everything in one video, it's going to be way too damn much for me and way too mentally unhealthy for me. So what I plan on doing here, like I said, is that I'm going to do a certain part in one video, and then come back and continue on with another part, and then cut, and then so on, all the way to the very end. I'm also going to be reading the description of each scene in these. I'm not going to read this whole entire thing or whatever, just only these parts here, to help give a little bit of a more in-depth in each scene. Each of these scenes have its own description and everything, so I'm going to be reading them only in the Grand Decline. I'm going to be reading them, and then I'm going to be doing cuts on each visit and give my overall thoughts on each visit and everything, and then move on over. The last thing that I want to say before we continue this project is a shout out, and I want to give a shout out to Miss Widowmaker. I hope I'm saying that right. But I want to say thank you truly to Miss Widowmaker for making her video about a year or so ago. It was like halfway done at the time or whatever. But I truly want to thank her and give her a shout out, because if it wasn't for her video, I wouldn't have known about this amazing project. And when I saw her video, I was already blown away by it and everything. And I decided to go ahead and wait till this project has fully come to a close and ending so that I can make it. I didn't have to wait for the project to fully end, but I'm kind of a bit of a perfectionist that way. So, but anyway, truly thank you, Miss Widowmaker, for making your video and showcasing this amazing project and everything. Truly thank you for your work and everything, and I can't wait to see your part 2 or your other video that you're going to make covering this whole entire thing. But that's on her. But anyway, overall, with all that being said and everything, one last thing. You can check her out in the description below, so be sure to subscribe to her, check her out her channel and everything. Truly thank you. So anyway, with all that being said and out of the way, folks, let's get into the actual project. Before the eventual downward spiral, we experience the very beginning of the decline, a time where thoughts are recollected without effort. Savor this bliss, for it may not last for long. Welcome to Scene 1, Visit 1, folks. The very beginning, the very start of our journey here. Visit 1 here, to me, I feel, is very pleasant and very nice to listen to. The art cover for this visit here, I feel, is a precious heirloom or some kind of vase that a family member or someone very close to the patient has made for them, and they probably kept it since childhood, or something that they look very fondly on and cherish dearly to this very day. Even if it was made long ago, deep in the past. Also, the track titles are also very nice. The track names in this visit give me a warm, comforting feeling. Tracks such as The Grand Hall Opens Wide, which is what we're currently listening to, by the way. Days Long Gone, Times We'll Never Forget, and My Love for You Shall Never Die. The art cover is also very warm and bright, with its warm, yellowy orange colors and the nice and the wooded type looking vase. Overall, Visit 1, I feel, is a very pleasant and overall a very nice visit. I can picture them telling stories to their grandkids about the times that they've had as a childhood themselves, or just overall fond memories that they've had deep in the past and everything. The other tracks as well, I get a overall good jolly feeling. Tracks like this one here. It's overall a very nice and pleasant visit, with no distortion at all. Everything is, you can understand the beats and everything, and overall everything is just very pleasant and very nice. Gives you a good feeling listening to these songs and this visit here, excuse me. I had a brain fog though. But anyway, folks, I think with all that being said and out of the way, we're gonna move on over to visit 2. So here's visit 2 here, folks, and I feel that visit 2 here is the start of where confusion starts to roll in, but at a very small pace. Like house keys, household objects, and just the little things in life, right? They start to fade away for a teeny bit. The songs in this visit, unlike the first visit, feel a bit more ominous to them. Like you can still understand the beats and everything, but there's a bit of offness towards them, right? I feel like the track titles such as, let me look here real fast. I feel like track titles such as Dancing in the Rain a While, The Past Calls Back Faintly, and The Future Is Yet to Be is one of the examples of small confusion setting in. One of the best examples I feel of something being off is in the 6th track, Sudden Displacement. Excuse me. It's like there's something missing towards it, or something suddenly disappeared and you're not quite sure why or where it's at or whatever. The songs in this visit here, like I said, have a more ominous and mystery feel towards it. Like something's not right or something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. I feel like this also resembles the art cover for this visit here as well, which is a tree, but the tree seems a bit bizarre, along with whatever statue that it's standing on. We can clearly tell that it's a tree, but if you look closely at it, it's like there's something missing towards it, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Overall, Visit 2 is still coherent, and you can still understand the tracks and everything, but it's strange how there's suddenly an ominous feel towards it. Maybe it's just the progression or whatever, or it could simply just be old age, right? I mean, we all get old at some point, don't we? With all that being said, folks, let's move on over to Visit 3. Here we are with Visit 3 here, folks. Visit 3 to me becomes the part where the little bit of confusion and sudden misplacement becomes a full-on cooking ingredient that is suddenly missing, or a major part in it, but we still can't quite understand exactly what that piece even is, or that ingredient even is, if there even was an ingredient in the first place. The songs here in this visit have a bit of an even more off feeling towards it. While you could still hear and still understand the beats and coherentness and everything, there's a bit of even more uneasiness towards it. Like a main piece or ingredient is not there, that what made that memory there in the first place. The titles such as On a Boat Out to Sea, My Heart is Becoming Numb, and Roses of Mercy, Miracle, whatever, are the prime examples, I feel, of an idea of something being misplaced even more so, but not quite understanding exactly why. A prime example of the uneasiness that I get from, as an example, is in the 4th track, Old Raining Stadium Tunes. It has this carnival themed playing, and it sounds like it's joyful and everything, but it seems like there's that missing vibe towards it. Like as if it's like missing the colors from a painting, like nothing that makes it spark or spicy or whatever. It's like an uneasy thing to me, like there's something missing, but you still can't quite put your finger on it, but that missing piece is even bigger now compared to Visit 2. The art cover of this visit, by the way, is also some kind of alcoholic bottle or vodka next to a cigarette. I picture at this visit the patient is talking to a close relative or loved one about their times of what they did in the past, but the details are clearly being missed and confusion kind of sets in more as to why that confusion is there in the first place, and while you can still understand the stories and everything, it's like there's a missing piece in there now, a missing piece of which we can no longer fill in exactly. But anyway, folks, with all that being said and out of the way, we are gonna move on over to Visit 4. Also, before I forget, this scene here is called The Unaware Bliss. I'm going to try and remember to keep track of the scene titles. But anyway, speaking of the scenes as well, we're going to move on over to Scene 2, folks. Scene 2, The Persistent Denial, Visits 4 to 7. Here, we see memories and thought processes begin to become more muddy as Alzheimer's begins to take a toll on the cortex of the brain. We may also see the grief of one's own condition progress further along towards the path of acceptance. Memories are still relatively clear in this part, but the worst is still yet to come. Welcome to Visit 4, folks. In Visit 4, I feel there's definitely a huge change in mood and everything. The tracks in this visit are very limited. The songs and violins are very restricted and everything, like they can't hold as much as they used to, along with being further apart and more distant, along with the staticiness and heaviness of the feeling. The songs in this visit are more about the actual emotion of the memories rather than the memories themselves. The titles such as Silent Moments in Serenity and The Great Doors Begin to Close In, which is what we're currently listening to. One thing that does unnerve me, one song that does unnerve me, I feel, is in the third track, Fragments of Joy Caught in the Mist. It's this nice beautiful piano song that plays along, but it feels very limited and doesn't hold like it used to. There's also this blaring horn now suddenly appear in the song, making the song replay by itself all over again. While that's playing, you also may notice that in this scene, I think it's the only scene likely, honestly, from what I can see, but the far background moves around. It has a sudden stillness of animation and movement in it. And it's only in this scene here. But the songs overall feel depressing, along with the titles as well. Like things aren't what they used to be. Also, the cover for this visit, I feel, is some type of boot holder or shoe holder. It's made, I don't know what they're exactly called, excuse me, but I feel like it's some type of tool to help tie your shoe or boot. That would make sense given the shoelaces just hanging off the edge there. I feel like this is the representation of the patient feeling tiresome and feeling like things aren't what they used to be anymore, and perhaps that things are a former shell of what they once were, given the shoelaces. I don't know what this part up here is with this black wing thing. Maybe it's just some kind of design or whatever. I'm not too entirely sure. But anyway, that's pretty much all there really is to say for me on Visit 4, excuse me. So with all that being said and out of the way, folks, let's move on over to Visit 5. The past finally starting to close off and finally give away to a goodbye to the past life, if you will, of what once was. That track that we just listened to, which was the first, by the way, will stars, what stars may fade, I feel, is an important memory that the patient has kept in their lives. It's a resemblance of what happened in their marriage. His wife was forced into marriage that she did not love or that she did not want, yet accepted nonetheless anyway, either due to family member or whatever the case may or may not be. Anyway, as I said, Visit 5 is the part where the memories of the past life finally start to give away and fade out, with the titles such as In a Moment Before the Sun Falls and A Hole in the Overcast. The art cover for Visit 5, I feel, is a resemblance of finally closing the curtain to the past life that they once had. Back when they were like younger and stuff and everything. This is what resembles the window looking in, as through the window is their past life. The curtains are now beginning to close in, like how you would close a curtain to a window before night. It's also on top of a coal, resembling, I feel, of what's to come for the near future and everything. I feel that Visit 5 is also a resemblance of trying to reclaim of what was once in the past, but can no longer, as things are very foggy and hazy, and also staticky as well. A depressing thing, to say the least, of trying to look back on what it was like back then, but can no longer be claimed of that. The instruments, obviously, are even more restricted and more fined, giving away to not only the confusion of the memory, but also trying to cling on to what was once in the past, but can no longer. So with all that being said and out of the way, folks, we're gonna move on over to Visit 6. Welcome to Visit 6, folks. Visit 6, I feel, is the part where the memories start to lose the meaning and what they once had all those years ago. I feel that this resembles perfectly with the art cover in this visit, with the colors being all gray and washed out. The oddly shaped vase, I feel, is the perfect representation to me of the main meaning or theme of the memory being completely gone and trying to reclaim of what once was lost. While we still have the memory and everything, and we can still look back on them, they don't hold the same quality or cherishedness of the feeling of that memory compared to what they used to all those years ago. The track titles have also become more depressing, such as Blue Waters and Drifting Away. The overall mood in Visit 6, I feel, is very depressing and very hollow. The missing pieces, of which they were small bits of confusion before, have become such a rapid apparent to, well, the main course of the big piece is no longer there. Like the main ingredient to a cooking or something. Like not having the meat be in the ravioli or no noodles in the spaghetti. It's the ideal representation of the main theme or the main feeling of what made that memory so special and cherished no longer there. And even though, like I said, you can look back on it and you can still remember them and everything, they don't hold the same weight compared to what they used to. So, with all that being said and out of the way, folks, we're gonna move on to Visit 7. Welcome to Visit 7, folks. Visit 7 is where the memories go from losing the meaning to what they once held and felt and everything, to now an emptiness of that memory and what they once had. The feeling of the memories have now become empty and hollow, a formal shell of what they once were. Everything's overall depressing, and this whole entire visit overall feels very hollow and emptiness. We go from losing meaning of the memory to now it's empty of the memory, with the track titles such as Hidden by the Ever-Present Fog, A Cold Evening Night, and A Bid Farewell of Hope. The art cover for this visit is a set of mirrors, all facing into some form of darkness at the end of a tunnel. I feel this is a representation of the patient looking inward of their memories to find meaning and to see what they have or what they still have, only to find emptiness in them and to have it without falter. I feel like this is resemblant of the very long candle here in one of the mirrors. It's like as if the patient is looking inward mentally, trying to search for something in a dark cave, yet doesn't find any treasure or no longer any meaningful thing or something that can resemble that memory the same way like it used to. One of the main things that chills me that I want to last say about Visit 7 is the ending here of this. The cover's obviously changed, but now the darkness has fully settled in with the mirrors. The candle has lit up, and it looks like there was some form of something there, maybe. Possibly a person in the woods, maybe. But I feel like this is the representation of the patient realizing fully not only that is something wrong, but is depressed that the emptiness and the memories are no longer there as things depressingly give away and fade. I feel like this is perfect song, and with the feeling and everything, with the title of the last track, I Am Lost. Because the patient really is, in a sense, mentally lost, seeking the treasure of the emptiness of what once was there, even though they're still there, but trying to find the meaning in those memories that now become empty. And now that the patient is trying to seek and look for it, he has become officially lost mentally, trying to find meaningful and clarity or some form of meaning in that memory. So, with all that said and out of the way, folks, let's move on over to the third scene. Scene 3, The Broken Despair. This is 8 to 12. As the patient has begun to slowly accept their fate, they begin to wander down towards a deep and steep depression. A world-shattering truth commenced this fact. Thoughts may begin to overlap and cancel themselves out entirely at this point. The five senses may also start to fail. However, the patient is still relatively healthy, yet with falter. Here we are, voice crack. Here we are at scene 3, folks, and this is going to be the last visit that we look into in this video here. I feel like scene 3 is the beginning of the steady decline, even more so. Well, the songs have become so reverbed that it becomes hard to understand some of the tracks. One of the songs I feel like highlights this is songs such as Left in the Mist, Far Beyond Reach, and Another Day Gone By. The art cover, the first art cover in this visit, yes, the first, I'll show you the second one in a bit, but the first one here shows a vase with tree branches popping out like veins, and little bits of leaves blowing away. I feel that the leaves here in this cover here is a representation of the patient's memory slowly being blown away, like a tree in the winter or in fall with aggressive wind. Like a tree's leaves in the winter, the patient's memory also gently and depressingly peel away, watching them fade away into the darkness of oblivion. The second cover of this doesn't begin until the sixth track, Far Beyond Reach, where the vase is now isolated alone. And not only that, there appears to be some kind of, I guess, balloons possibly or something. I'm not quite sure what it could mean exactly. And also, there's a difference between the first and second part of Visit 8. Also, we may also see this more and more as we continue down the line here, especially in the scene, where there's more than one cover for each visit now. One of the songs I feel that highlights the distortion is in the 8th track, Another Day Gone By. It's where the songs feel tired out and worn out, like they want to stop and rest, but sadly can't. Overall, I feel like in the second part of Visit 8, it's more on the isolation phase of Visit 8, rather than the distortion of it. Themes are a bit more clear in this part, but it overall leaves a depressive isolation and loneliness to the patient, hence why the face seems to be all alone. I feel this is the representation of the patient feeling alone and isolated as the world shadows away depressingly. But with all that being said and out of the way, folks, let's jump on over to Visit 9.
Headlines. Skies crash across New South Wales and Queensland.
Welcome to Visit 9, folks. I feel that Visit 9 is where the patient is reflecting back on their life and seeing the distortion of their memories. I hope it's not too loud. But anyway, I feel this visit here, I can picture the patient looking out the window and reflecting on their life and seeing how much they really have left of their past as the memories distort more and more. I felt like some songs highlight the distortion, making things feel very off and misplaced. A prime example of this, I feel, is in the 5th track, Distortions Begin to Manifest, where the song's very misplaced and very odd, like instruments shouldn't be playing at that time and everything, and notes given an uncanny, very off feeling. And as for the cover of Visit 9, I'm really not too sure what it could exactly be. I do see a very long candle that is lit up on some board with some horns or whatever popping out of it. I'm really kind of unsure what this could overall mean. The background cover of this behind the weird object, I feel, is a representation of an evening winter or whatever, with a nice comfy home breeze, and they're looking out at the snowy winter. I'm going to play you folks the ending of this track. I feel this is the perfect representation of the patient trying to claim the memory, but it slowly slips away from them as each loop gets more and more worse. like a record player overlapping itself, slowly dying. Another prime example of distortion is in the next track, a tale in the film. It's the song that I feel is meant to be jolly and motivational and hopeful, but things are still a bit off and everything, and with the heavy static in the background gives the feeling of distortion and fading away to it. And overall, I don't really have anything too much to really say on Visit Mine, but that's my overall thoughts. So, with all that being said, folks, let's move on over to Visit 10. Welcome to Visit 10, folks. Visit 10 is where the memories and the songs have become such a heavy static and distortion that it becomes tiresome and almost too much for the patient to reclaim and look back on. They try to remember happier memories and better, fond moments in their life, but yet the memories that they look back on have become extremely distorted, leaving a headache-inducing theme of what the memory once was. The album cover in this visit is now a row of streetlights or street poles getting foggier off in the distance. I feel that this represents either the patient and their childhood neighborhood or at a park that they would go to fondly as a child, slowly drifting away depressingly. The thing that they held on to for so long and that they look back on when they were a kid is now depressingly drifting away and fading away before them. One of the tracks that I feel gives me a chilling feeling of the distortion is in the third track, Notes of Broken Hope, where it sounds like Disney instrumental characters crying out in agony and just begging to stop, to be put out their misery, as it sounds like the instruments are just in pure pain and torture just by playing. Also, the song titles, such as The Calm Before the Storm, which is what played at the beginning, and A Star, give a feeling of sense of overall hopelessness and depression, I feel, with the distortions of the memories. Also, and in the fifth track, A Star, it gives me a feeling of isolation and loneliness as the patient settles in. But nothing could prepare them for the worst of what was yet to come, folks, in this next one. November 17th, 2003. This track is super unnerving to me. The album has changed over to a piece of paper. It's a diagnosed paper. Normally with patients with high symptoms of dementia or Alzheimer's, they'll often go in with a visit, and if the symptoms are high enough, they'll do a paper test to see if they have Alzheimer's or not. And well, I guess all facts came true with this one here. This is where the patient has been diagnosed. I feel that the washed out blackness in this side of the paper is the final test results, and that were positive and everything. Yet the patient doesn't want to believe that, so he crosses it out since he can't erase it and take it back. This track ends with a horrifying fog. I feel this ending is, well, everything sets in with the patient and knowing that the world is gonna shadow before them and that they're utterly powerless to stop it. Everything has become true to the patient. We then cut back to the first visit of what we saw before. Now all the streetlight lamps are all dimmed out and destroyed, except one lamp. The cover has become much more darker and much more foggy and everything. This track here, left in ruins, is how the patient feels after the diagnosis. Knowing that everything is true, that not only that they're positive that the world is gonna crumble away before them. The patient is left distraught and in deep depression, knowing of what's to come. This track ends in a cold, soft whimper. As for the second cover, or fourth, or whatever, depending on how you look at it, it's left on the patient feeling isolated and alone, reflecting on what they have left in their life. The cover is now a desk with a lone chair and a lone candle, off in darkness. It's left on where the patient feels on how they feel and reflecting on their life after the diagnosis, knowing that everything's slowly being burned away before them and that they're powerless to stop it. The patient sits alone, thinking hard and reflecting, letting the whole mood of their new reality settle in depressingly. No matter how much they don't want to accept it, they wrestle with themselves. So, with all that being said, folks, we're gonna descend on further down with Visit 11. Welcome to Visit 11, folks. Visit 11 is the anger of the patient, either due to remorse, regrets that they didn't do before in the past, or how they just overall feel after the diagnosis. They're left in enrage and anger, possibly wishing for stuff they could have done in the past or whatnot. They're left in an enraging anger, still unwanting to accept their fate, and knowing that they've been diagnosed, that everything is true. The patient is in a fury hulking rage. This helps with this fact of anger with the art cover in this visit being a stress ball with punctured stress sticks or something. I don't know what they're exactly called, but what it looks like what the sticks are made to be to help calm someone down or to help relieve energy, normally in some form of meditation or decompression relief. They'll put sticks all over you as a way to help calm someone down or to let go of something. I don't know entirely what they're called. I just call them stress relief sticks. This also helps with the anger with the red mist in the background. The tracks in this visit are forcefully shoved in, like the patient forcefully wants to be happy, is in forceful denial of the condition, when in reality that's not the case. The second cover in this visit is a cropped out version of a scale word, with the heavier side of the scale word being a pile of ashes. I'm not too entirely sure what the ashes may mean. possibly the disease and everything. I do feel like there's a reason we can't see the other side of the scale word. I feel that this part of the visit is the representation of denial, and since one part of the scale word is cropped out, it's a representation of the patient pulling away from it and not looking at the fact or whatever, falsely believing and is in denial that everything's fine and doesn't want to face the truth or cement towards it. One interesting thing about this cover here, this visit here, is in faulty recall. Faulty recall is exactly as it sounds, folks. A faulty recall. As in looking back on something, but it has huge fault and is untrue and everything. We have sink into such a point to where wires, neurons in our brain have become crossed over and mixed up, folks. To where when we look back on something now, things have become mixed together, given a false sense of what that past was, and given away to something being untrue when the patient looks back. This faulty recall is what we're going to see time and time again throughout the later stages and later videos of this whole album, folks. So get used to these faulty recalls. As of now, folks, that is pretty much it for this visit. Let's move on over to the last visit in this video here, folks. Here we are, folks, with the last visit in this video. Visit 12. This first part of Visit 12 represents the depression that the patient is feeling and the hopelessness of sadness that they're feeling, that the world is going to crumble away before them. The art cover is now a lone bench on a steep high cliff. I feel that this represents the patient looking down at their mental world in a sense. Everything that they looked fondly on, everything that they have been taught, that they have been shared, everything that they have looked back on in life. They feel depressed on the matter of fact that the world is going to burn away before their very eyes slowly and surely, and that they're powerless to stop it. The patient sits alone, looking back down on the land that they have created throughout their entire life, knowing that it's going to be utterly burned away into a fate of oblivion. It's a daunting feeling that the patient holds and reflects on, feeling a hopeless depression and utter sadness of what's to come. The second cover in this visit, I'm entirely unsure what it exactly is. My guess with this one is that it's some form of paper thing, maybe some hummingbird, maybe a set of wings about to fly off before and everything. I'm honestly unsure what it could possibly mean. Those are just my guesses. One of the tracks that I feel highlights this depression is in the 8th track, Crying for Respite. And unlike in the first part of this visit, well, depression sinks in and the patient sits alone looking atop the bench, I feel that this part of the visit, the second part, is the last cry for hope, the last cry of joy and wish fulfillment, that this is all a nightmare, that everything's going to be okay in the end, that everything's going to be alright. The patient desperately clings on to what they can. Maybe that's what this cover represents, and maybe that's what this piece here is. Like trying to cling on to a leaf before blowing away in the wind. The patient desperately tries everything they can to be positive and to feel that everything's going to be okay and fine, when depressingly they have to depressingly let go of that factor. There's also folk to recall too in this visit. Which, interestingly enough, if you look back on Visit 7, this is the same song. The only difference is that in this song here, in this part, it's violently cut out and violently distorted, barely being recognizable from previously of what it was. But finally, the patient finally gives in. It gives in to the acceptance of their condition, with the last track in this visit caving in. This is the moment where the patient finally surrenders to the disease, knowing that they can't fight it anymore. They give away a white flag in a sense, finally letting go and accepting of the new world and accepting that everything's going to be crumbled away. They gave up on fighting and trying to retain against the disease, knowing that they're absolutely powerless to stop it. This art cover has now changed over to a feminine figure. It changed to a feminine figure that's faceless. I feel that this is a representation of the patient's wife. The patient that they looked back on fondly, that they cherished, that lifted them up when they were down, that gave them cherished moments and everything, and has helped them throughout their life, has now faded away depressingly. The patient still knows that she's a she, but the who and why in she has no longer been plausible, as the disease depressingly took that away from them. I feel that this is a representation of the faceless of the woman, showing that the patient knows that she's a she, but can no longer claim or remember on what or who the she is. This is the depressing ending of the patient finally letting go and accepting their fate, and in return they let go of the most beloved person that they held on to in their life, their spouse. So, with all that being said, folks, that's pretty much it for this first summary of the Grand Decline. I'm not gonna lie, folks. This took a lot longer and was a lot more difficult and depressing, despite the practices that I've done over time and everything with this video and everything. This took a lot longer than I initially thought, because it's depressing, and soul crushing and everything. But I overall really enjoy this album, and I hope you folks do too. I feel like this is truly the best representation of Alzheimer's, but sadly, this is not where the journey is going to end, folks, because as I stated before and everything, this is only the first part here. I plan on doing 4 parts of this total thing, and this is just the beginning of the end, folks. So you better buckle up, because I sure am buckled up. And even though I do not want to face it again and everything, it's something that I want to showcase and I want to display for you folks. So I overall, I wouldn't say enjoy. I keep saying enjoy, because there's nothing enjoyable about this one here. But I hope you folks overall took something from this first part here. And like I said, folks, our journey is far from over. We still got a couple visits to go to and everything, and depressingly, we can only sink down further and further. So with all that being said, I hope you folks overall took something or maybe even enjoyed this first part here. I definitely plan on doing part 2 and 3 and 4 and so on soon, like I said, to the very end. So, anyway, folks, with all that out of the way and said, thank you all so much for watching this video here. If you folks want to check out the channel that I stated before and everything, and if you folks want to check out the wiki, those two are going to be in the description below. Also, go check out Miss Widowmaker. I hope I'm saying that right, but check her out and everything. Again, like I said, I wouldn't have known about this project if it wasn't for her. So, truly thank you. This is still a shout out in some sense. So, go check her out. Go check out her channel and everything. She did stated that she is going to make another video, but the only differences between me and hers is that she plans on doing them all together, full package and everything. And the main reason why I'm doing separate parts in this series here of videos here, folks, is that it's going to be too goddamn much for me. Like I said, we got a lot to cover, and our journey of Spiral is far from over. So, anyway, overall, thank you folks for watching this video. Go check out Miss Widowmaker if you ever get the chance to. I really am grateful that she made her video and everything, opening my eyes to this amazing project. And check out the wiki and go check out Fi himself or their self if you ever want to. They're a music magician and everything, and so far with what they have done with this amazing project is truly amazing. We're going to continue onward and look further down. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this whole video here, folks. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all sooner or later. Bye-bye.